Welcome to this session on work management. My name is Asuntosh Raikar, and today we're going to explore why work management is the true engine behind asset reliability. A common misconception is that reliability happens when a technician picks up a tool. However, as we will see, reliable work is actually designed and won long before the wrench ever turns. We will walk through the entire cycle from the initial request through to feedback and learning. Let's start with a hard look at our operating reality. We often focus on the wrench time, but the wrench doesn't create reliability in isolation. Reliability is won or lost in the quality of every handoff that occurs before and after that work. If the identification is poor, the preparation is lacking, or the learning after the job is ignored, even the best technician cannot guarantee a reliable asset. This brings us to our central argument. Work management is a closed-loop reliability engine. Think of each stage: request, screen, prioritize, plan, ready, schedule, execute, and learn as a series of gates. Each gate's job is to convert uncertainty into executable, risk-controlled work. By protecting this flow with constant feedback, we ensure the asset functions exactly as intended. Our roadmap for today is divided into 5 acts. First, we'll look at how to shape demand. Next, we'll discuss how to prepare work by clearing constraints. Then, we'll cover how to protect the flow through weekly scheduling, followed by the execution of quality work. Finally, we'll talk about the learning loop that allows us to manage the system with data rather than just intuition. Act 1. Shaping the demand. It's important to remember that a work request is just raw demand. Through screening and prioritization, we transform a simple observation into an intentional, strategic maintenance decision. The first hurdle is understanding that a request is not yet a work order. A good request should objectively describe the abnormal condition, its location, and the potential consequences. It should not jump to a diagnosis or assume that every observation requires a maintenance intervention. We want facts from the field, not guesses of solution. To make a decision-ready request, there is a minimum anatomy required. We need to know where the need is, what changed from normal, the operating context, and the evidence like a photo or a trend. This allows the person screening the work to verify the need without having to go back and forth with the requester multiple times. A key trick in shaping demand is to separate the observation, the hypothesis, and the work scope. If we collapse these into one sentence, we often end up with the wrong parts and wasted labor. We capture the fact from the field first, then hypothesize a cause, and finally authorize a scope that is based on evidence. Demand comes from many legitimate sources: corrective work from operators, preventive or predictive triggers, compliance and safety requirements, and reliability improvements. The goal of work management is to channel all these different inputs into one single control funnel. The quality of your work management signal depends entirely on the language used. Vague requests like pump making noise force the planner to start from zero. Strong requests provide specific context, such as tonal noise above 70% low, which allows the team to plan precisely and coordinate the right window for repair. Once a request is in, it must pass through screening. This isn't just a quick check. It involves 5 fast decisions. Is it valid? Is it a duplicate? Who is the right owner? What is the correct route? And most importantly, what is the risk? You can screen quickly, but you must never bypass the risk decision. Every request must leave the screening process with a clear disposition. Whether it's approved, returned for clarification, linked as a duplicate, rerouted, or rejected, the status must be explicit. A silent queue is not a control process. It's a black hole for productivity. Act 2. Prioritize by risk. Since we have limited resources, priority is how we allocate our scarce attention. It must be based on consequence and urgency, not on who is shouting the loudest or how old the request is. The logic of priority is a simple equation: consequence times urgency, divided by the controls we have in place. The result of this calculation isn't just a number. It defines the response path, the safe completion date, and any interim controls needed to keep the plant safe while we wait to do the work. Here is an example of site priority matrix. It maps the severity of the consequence against the urgency of the need. This helps us categorize work from P1 emergencies that require immediate action to P4 opportunity work that can wait for a planned window. However, a priority code is useless without operating rules. A P1 means we stop and stabilize. A P3 means we have enough control to plan and schedule through the normal weekly process. These rules ensure everyone knows exactly how to behave when a certain priority is assigned. It's vital to distinguish between priority and a due date. Priority tells us how the work competes for resources based on risk. The due date, or safe date, is a specific calendar commitment. One is about rank, the other is about timing. Both are needed to manage a backlog effectively. Priority inflation, where everything becomes urgent, is a symptom of a broken promise. When people don't trust the system to get to their work, they inflate the priority. To restore trust, we need visible screening, a credible ready backlog, and governed decisions for when work breaks into the schedule. Act 3. Plan the work. Planning is about removing foreseeable delays before the crew arrives. While planning answers how the work will be done, scheduling decides when and by whom. To be clear, planning defines the scope, safety controls, and resources needed. Scheduling then takes those prepared jobs and matches them to available craft capacity and equipment access windows. You cannot have one without the other. The planner's ultimate purpose is to convert uncertainty into first wrench readiness. They anticipate everything: parts, tools, permits, and coordination, so that when the work window opens, the crew spends their time doing actual maintenance, not looking for a missing gasket or a ladder. An executable job plan has 8 connected elements. It starts with a clear scope and moves through method, safety, labor, and materials. Crucially, it must include testing criteria. How will we know the job is done right? And a plan for capturing facts during closeout. One of the most important tools for a planner is the field walkdown. You must walk the job before the crew discovers the job. This is where you confirm the physical condition, trace isolations, and measure clearances. The walkdown is where assumptions are replaced by facts. Safety isn't something we add on at the end. It's planned into the job. This means identifying hazards, defining LOTO boundaries, preparing permits, and planning for contingencies. Safety controls are a fundamental part of the work package. We also have to ensure resource readiness. A part that is on order is not a ready job. Materials must be on site and kit. Services must be contracted, and specialized tools must be calibrated and available. Until these are confirmed, the job stays out of the schedule. When planning labor, we need to look beyond just the total hours. We must plan a coordinated production sequence. This involves estimating elapsed duration, accounting for wait times like cooling or curing, and identifying clear handoff points between different crafts or operations. To maintain quality, we use a planned quality gate. A job isn't planned until you can answer yes to these questions. Is the scope clear? Is the sequence safe? Are resources confirmed? If the answer is no, the job isn't ready for the schedule. We should also reuse standard job plans, but they shouldn't be fossilized. While we reuse stable elements like safety steps and technical references, we must constantly revalidate what changes, such as asset revisions or feedback from the last time the job was performed. Act 4. Build a ready backlog. Think of your backlog as your maintenance inventory. The quality of this inventory determines whether your scheduling process has real, usable choices or just a list of wishes. Backlog is effectively inventory that carries risk. If you have too little ready work, your schedule starves. If you have too much stale or unplanned work, it hides risk and wastes management's time. We need the Goldilocks amount of high quality, ready work. Your backlog status architecture should always name the next decision. Instead of a vague, waiting status, use specific terms like hold, bearing ETA September 18th. This ensures every item in the queue has an owner and a clear path forward. Ready is a formal quality gate, not just an opinion. A job is only ready when the scope, resources, safety requirements, and the production window are all confirmed and understood. This is the gold standard for a job to enter the scheduling phase. We must age our backlog by risk and safe dates, not just by how many days have passed. A 3-day-old urgent job might need more immediate attention than a 42-day-old routine job. that is perfectly timed for an upcoming outage. Focus on the exposure, not the anxiety. A healthy ready backlog must offer real choices. We need to balance it across different crafts, durations, and priority levels. This allows the scheduler to build a smart plan that fits the available labor and production windows for the coming week. Finally, we need to manage the funnel. By looking at the counts of work at each stage, from identification to ready, we can see where the bottlenecks are. For example, if there's a huge drop between planned and ready, it tells us that our materials or parts procurement process is likely the problem. Act 5. Make the weekly promise. Scheduling is where we negotiate a commitment between operations and maintenance. Once that promise is made, it's our job to protect it from avoidable volatility. The weekly schedule is the plant's reliability promise. It's a baseline that says, given our capacity and access, this is the most valuable work we can safely execute next week. It is the foundation of trust between departments. A credible schedule is built on constraints, not optimism. It requires four inputs: work that is actually ready, the net craft capacity after leave and meetings, a clear commitment from operations for asset release, and a list of must-do compliance or PM dates. The weekly scheduling meeting should be for making decisions, not for giving status presentations. We need the right voices in the room, planners, supervisors, and operations, to walk out with a published baseline and clear owners for each job. Building that schedule involves 6 discipline passes. We start with capacity, add the must-dos, find the access windows, select the highest value ready work, level the workload, and finally, commit and freeze the plan. Importantly, you should never be planning a job during scheduling meeting. Once we have a weekly baseline, we freeze it. Any change after this point must be recorded. Who changed it? Why? And what work was displaced? Without a frozen baseline, you cannot see the volatility or identify the systemic causes of disruption. Inside that weekly promise, we use daily coordination to adapt. Daily control is about confirming today's permits and crews, not about rebuilding the whole week from scratch. We need to respond to discoveries without casually abandoning our commitments. Sometimes opportunities arise, like an unexpected equipment shutdown. We can exploit these windows by having a pre-planned list of opportunity jobs ready to go. This allows us to do extra work without disrupting the core schedule or the critical path. Then there is break-in work. True break-in work is something that cannot safely wait for the next cycle and requires an authorized risk decision. We must distinguish this from preference work that people just want done sooner, which should never be allowed to break the schedule. Good governance uses a simple decision tree. Can it wait? If yes, it goes through the normal flow. If no, it's an authorized break-in that requires a documented reason, a statement of risk, and a clear understanding of what work it is displacing. The break-in log is a powerful learning tool. By tracking why work breaks in and who authorized it, we can have a weekly review to ask, is our break-in log growing? Was it preventable? This links symptoms back to upstream defects in our planning or operations. We measure our success through schedule compliance. This is simply the percentage of the frozen schedule that was actually completed. It measures the reliability of our promise. If we are consistently at 85%, we are doing well, but we must also track the break-in loads separately. However, compliance is a diagnostic signal, not a target to be gained. Low compliance might mean weak priority discipline or unrealistic labor estimates. High compliance can hide problems too, like a schedule that was underloaded just to look successful. We need to look at the data honestly. Act 6. Execute. Close and learn. Execution is where preparation becomes physical quality. Closeout is where that experience becomes better history and fewer repeat failures. Before the work starts, we align the crew with a pre-job brief. We discuss the purpose, the risks, the sequence of the method, and the recovery plan. This ensures everyone is on the same page before they are exposed to the hazards of the plant. We use an execution readiness gate. It's binary. Either it's safe, the scope is clear, the resources are there, the access is ready, and the acceptance criteria are known, or it isn't. If any gate fails, we pause and resolve it before starting. At the point of work, the technician's job is to execute the plan while managing the facts. If the field conditions invalidate the plan, we stop. We protect precision, like torque and alignment, and record as found facts before they are lost during disassembly. The frontline supervisor is the protector of this flow. Before the job, they confirm readiness and coordinate interfaces. After the job, they verify system restoration and ensure that useful feedback is captured before the order is closed. Maintenance quality is about precision. Work management must protect these standards: cleanliness, correct fits and tolerances, precise alignment, and proving the performance. We are looking for functional success, not just a completed status. Restoring function requires an explicit post-maintenance test sequence. We inspect, restore the system configuration, run the test under defined conditions, and measure the results against the criteria. A job is not done until the function is proven and accepted. It's important to separate physical completion from administrative closure. An order is only truly closed when actual labor and materials are recorded, failure data is captured, follow-up work is created, and the history is updated for future use. The feedback from the field is what improves our next decision. Did we find what we expected? How long did it really take? Were there delays? This data improves our estimates, our kits, and our overall system reliability. This creates a continuous improvement loop. By comparing our plan to the actual field facts, we can update our job plans and standard estimates. Planner learning must be seen as a core part of the work cycle, not something they do in their spare time. To make this work, we need clear roles and decision rights. Whether it's the requester, the planner, the supervisor, or the manager, everyone must know who is responsible, accountable, and consulted at every stage of the process. We govern this engine at 3 time horizons. Daily, we control execution. Weekly, we protect the flow and the promise. Monthly, we look at the big picture: backlog health, system improvements, and asset risk to improve the entire engine. When it comes to KPIs, no single number tells the whole story. We must measure flow, quality, stability, and outcomes together. Are we screening quickly? Is our work repeat-free? Is our schedule stable? Only together do these metrics show the health of our reliability engine. Let's look at a quick case study: a pump seal leak. From the initial request with a photo, through screening, risk-based prioritization, and a detailed plan, to a scheduled window and a verified execution. Because the information survived every handoff, the asset was restored perfectly on day 5. If you're looking to implement this, we suggest a 90-day roadmap. Start by making the work visible and cleaning your statuses. In the second month, focus on the ready gate and scheduling. By the third month, you should be governing break-ins and updating your plans from field data. As a seasoned practitioner, I've seen where this usually fails. People often buy software thinking it creates discipline, or they schedule unready work to look busy. The correction is to define your gates and decisions first, and then let the software support those disciplines. For those who want to dive deeper, there's a wealth of architecture and standards available, from SMRP and IAEA frameworks to specific guidance for software systems like SAP or Maximo. These provide the how-to for the principles we've discussed today. I've also selected several videos that are excellent discussion starters for your teams. They cover everything from the basics of planning and scheduling to the nuances of backlog management and schedule compliance. To wrap up, here are 4 executive takeaways. Control your demand with risk logic. Schedule only work that is truly ready. Govern your volatility by managing break-ins. And finally, always close the learning loop to improve your future performance. Thank you for your time today. Remember, reliable work is designed before the wrench turns. If we shape the demand, prepare the work, and protect our promises, we will build a reliability engine that lasts. I'm happy to take any questions.